Hello, I'm Jim Wolfe, and this is ArtWorks, a show dedicated to the arts and artists of West Virginia. The Rustic Mechanicals is the only troupe of actors in West Virginia dedicated to touring the works of William Shakespeare and other classical playwrights. Now celebrating their 10th anniversary, the Mechanicals tour 5 shows annually, including Shakespeare in the Park, outdoor productions, and an impressive variety of programming focusing on making Shakespeare's plays accessible to contemporary audiences. Today we'll visit with Jason A. Young and Sarah Young, co-founders of the Vintage Theater Company and the Rustic Mechanicals. Jason and Sarah, welcome to ArtWorks.
Hey, thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having us.
It is wonderful to have you here. Congratulations on 10 years of Rustic Mechanicals.
10 years.
Pretty amazing. West Virginia's had a Shakespeare troupe for 10 years, and throw a pandemic in there, and we're pretty excited we're still around.
You all are the co-founders, so I assume you've been there all 10 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to say I was very happy to be in the audience last night at Rustic Mechanicals' production of Hamlet at Capitol Theater here in Charleston. This was part of the festival's fall programming for this year. Mm-hmm. We're sitting here right now in October of 2023 as you're sort of nearing, I think, the end of your tour and your program for this year. Sarah, you played Hamlet last night. Amazing performance.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It was really impressive. You've been doing this on the road for a while. How's it going? How are you feeling today?
I'm tired today, if you want the honest answer.
You've got to be. You've got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, tired, but also that adrenaline and the excitement, keeping it moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The production was really fast-paced, I thought. And I'll admit this, it's the first full production of yours that I've seen. Mm-hmm. And I think just from previous conversations and also seeing some images of other productions, I think of Rustic Mechanicals as the sort of lighthearted, fun, accessible, friendly, community-friendly version of Shakespeare. And not that Hamlet was not that, but Hamlet is Hamlet. This was the tragedy. And you all didn't flinch, didn't step back from that at all. I thought the production, I'm sure you did it in your style, but it was high impact. It was really well done. And again, congratulations to both of you and really the whole company, because that's an impressive group of actors, all playing multiple roles in order to deliver that whole story.
Yeah, I think when you talk about you see us as being kind of lighthearted and stuff, I think we sometimes maybe even to a fault we like to find the extremes of things and then kind of back it off a little bit. So if it's a comedy, like, we're gonna go for it, and we're gonna let all of the goofiness breathe and all of the bawdiness breathe and all of that. But like you said, you saw maybe what some people believe to be his greatest tragedy last night, and we went for it. Like we just try to let the text and the story live to its highest level, and I think you saw that in action last night with Hamlet. It's a highly impactful production, pretty intense production.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So now, Rustic Mechanicals, tell me what that means. Where did the company get its name?
So we were actually in rehearsal and had shows scheduled for our very first tour. Mm-hmm. Our very first production was A Midsummer Night's Dream in the summer of 2014. We had 7 actors, and we played 4 different locations. It was a really long tour that week. But we were actually in rehearsal for that production and trying to decide what to call the company. And one of the things that's unique about the company is that we are all West Virginia artists, and that's sort of at the heart of our mission. We are West Virginians making Shakespeare for West Virginia. And so we originally thought, we would call ourselves something that ties into West Virginia. And so we looked at Shakespeare's canon, and a couple times in his plays, the word mountaineer is used. Both times it's used as an insult, sort of like, hick or redneck. Sure. And in an underproduced play called Cymbeline, somebody says, "Yield, thou rustic mountaineer." Stand over there, you mountain hick man. And we thought, oh, that's perfect. We're going to be the Rustic Mountaineers. And then we thought, oh, everybody's going to think we're from WVU.
Yeah.
So we hung on to Rustic because I think it defines us in a great way. And then we started looking at the different names that Shakespeare has for actors. Sometimes he says actors, sometimes he says players. But in A Midsummer Night's Dream, which we were in rehearsal for, he refers to the actors as the mechanicals. So we thought Rustic, mechanicals, and then the legend was born right there.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And I love the name, and now it has its own life.
Right,
But I didn't.
sure.
I never heard that version of where it.
Well,
where it
over
came
the
from.
10-year history in promotions, we have been called many different things. Rusted mechanicals,
Rusty mechanic.
mechanics. we rusty.
Yeah.
We get a lot of different versions of our name out there.
That works.
But it is Rustic Mechanicals.
You thought you might be confused with the WVU football team, but now you have a different problem.
Yes, now we have a different problem. Yep.
Sarah, you played Hamlet, as I mentioned. I think you maybe played Romeo earlier this year as
did.
well.
She gets a lot of young boy roles.
Two. Prince Hal.
But beyond, even beyond casting you as the leading young male roles, what could you say about the company's approach to casting in general that is unique to Rustic Mechanicals?
The goal is to put the best actor in the best role for them. So we take a look at, we like to call them the superpowers or their wheelhouse of their skills as an actor, and which character or characters does that wheelhouse kind of match up with. So I happen, from knowing me, I happen to be younger looking, and I'm physically more talented. I can do a lot of fighting and things like that, so I end up in a lot of those roles.
Yeah. Shakespeare, we're going to talk about this later, but we use this term called Shakespeare staging conditions. Basically, like, what were the things that Shakespeare was working with in his theater, and then how does that how can we make them apply here? Not like, to the letter, but how do we riff off that? Shakespeare didn't have access to female performers. In his day, it was thought below, it was unladylike for a woman to be on stage. So we riff off that by saying gender doesn't really matter then. I mean, he could have very easily written all male characters, but he didn't. He wrote a lot of great female characters knowing they were going to be played by male actors. So for us, it doesn't matter. It's about like Sarah said, the superpowers of the actor. And whether that character is a male or a female doesn't matter. If the actor fits that character the best and can bring it to life and tell the story the best, then that's where they're going to end up in the casting process.
And then it looks to me like you in turn give actors a lot of space and a lot of chances to really use their chops by playing different roles.
Sure.
There were entrances and exits last night and costume changes where I thought, whew, that was fast. Somebody's working hard backstage, But no, it's an amazing exercise for actors, I would think. Let's talk a little bit about that approach as well in a little bit more depth, but also touring. We have some images that we're going to show of from the company on the road.
Tour life. Yeah.
But and I've seen images, and I know that you all, performance spaces can be very wide-ranging for you, right? You find yourself performing in a lot of different spaces, and not only that, but a lot of different communities around the state, large and small, easy to get to and not easy to get to.
Yeah.
Could you just elaborate a little bit on why touring, and what does that allow the company to do? How does that fit with the company's mission? And really, what's that like? You all are among the only people doing this, as we've said.
Yeah. So touring's a necessity for us because we're not, number one, just from a financial spot, we don't believe that there is a community in West Virginia that could sustain a year-round Shakespeare theater. But there's a lot of communities that could sustain a one-stop and fill it up, type of Shakespeare. So touring is sort of a financial necessity for us in that way. But more to the mission, again, I said, we're a group of West Virginia actors who are trying to make Shakespeare then take it to West Virginians. So there's no better way to do that than to just get in to their community. And when we go on tour, and Sarah, you could talk more about this too, but we try to get in the community. Like we want to stay in the community, we want to eat in the community, we want to walk, we want to coffee in the community, and really it's kind of sometimes a vacation for our actors who have never seen certain parts of the state.
Yeah, like even because we were at Capitol High School yesterday, and even in the Charleston area, the actors went and ate at the Appalachian Cafe yesterday, and they found I don't remember where they got coffee from.
Yeah, they found a local coffee shop. Yeah, it's very much about getting into those communities and learning about them, and then that way when we come together, it feels more like a community gathering.
I didn't say this part, but you also did a school show at Capitol High yesterday and a workship with some students there as well. So that's part of that too.
Big part of it, yeah. Especially anytime we can interact with students is a plus for us. We're always trying to find a way to do that. School performances are an easy way to do that, but also just getting into classrooms or getting into workshops. I think the two artists that taught the workshop for us yesterday made a comment to me afterwards that it was so cool because all of those students, usually it's like workshop and then a show, but yesterday it was show and then a workshop. So all those students had already seen Hamlet, and so then as we're doing the workshop about the text, they're going, oh yeah, they're connecting that more, and they said it was really just light bulb after light bulb after light bulb, which was cool. And Capitol was such an awesome host for us. They treated us great yesterday.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's a great experience for them and for your company members.
Heck
I think, too. How many people are on tour? How many people?
11.
Okay. And does that vary from time to time depending on composition of the company and the nature of the shows?
Again, people. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Again, people think that we make a lot of decisions like because it's the artistic decision, but we make a lot of decisions based upon money, right? Because every person that we put in a show, we've got to pay, you know, and then we got to feed them and house them and you know, move them around and buy costumes for them. So we're usually in the dozen area, 10 to 13. 15's a big tour for us, but sometimes it necessitates that. Yeah.
So we try to.
There are some other things that you do when you're in the community to kind of really welcome people in. I'm thinking of Shakespeareoke, among others. Sarah, can you, I think the Shakespeareoke event that I went to in Charleston, Jason, you were kind of hosting.
Yep.
Sarah, you were working the scripts and the sign-up sheets for people who want to get up and perform a Shakespeare monologue. Can you describe a little bit about how that works?
So if you've ever done karaoke, it's a lot like that. We carry a huge binder. It's like a nice 6-inch one. And it's full of some of the popular monologues, some of the lesser-known monologues. It has some of the scenes of like two people from Shakespeare plays. And you are welcome to come and peruse our catalog, just like you would at karaoke, and take it and go practice and then present it. You can bring your own bard, BYOB, if you have your own piece you want to do. And then we also insert it in with we have a band that does some acoustic music to kind of fill in the gaps, and we played some trivia games and some pop sonnets and Mad Libs, and it's kind of just a chance to hang out and enjoy poetry and each other's company and music. And
it's a hard event to describe.
Yeah,
but
it's one you have to experience.
Yeah, it's way better experience than explain, but you did a nice job of that because it's a karaoke party, except it's spoken word, except there is live music.
You can.
And if you want to sing, you can. You can do anything you want.
We had a kazoo performance
We had a
once.
kazoo performance
beautiful.
once in Thomas, yes.
Yes.
We had a young student do a monologue about being a dung beetle once. That's a memorable karaoke Shakespeareoke moment.
It's the same one with the kazoo song.
But it's a hangout. It's a party. We kind of throw in a party, celebrating Shakespeare at the center of it. But again, about bringing a community together, and the one in Charleston that you attended was a great party.
I mean, that included a rousing sing-along of Country Roads.
Sure, always.
There was a conga line.
Yes, there was.
And there was no shortage of participants.
No, we had lines. We had to cut people off because we ran out of time.
Yeah. but in that, isn't it remarkable in some ways? I think that, you know, once you get past the initial, you know, reluctance or whatever,
right?
A lot of people, I think this is like poetry in this way. people who aren't necessarily even professionals or were ever serious performers or whatever, at one point in life, they've encountered a Shakespeare speech or monologue that they really like. Maybe they were in a play at some point in school or something, or they saw, they have a favorite movie version or something. But it's like people have their Shakespeare monologue if you just wait and it emerges. Is that what you find a little bit? Or
yeah, we see that a lot. We also see people who were forced to memorize it in high school.
Right. Well,
And
like poetry again.
And they didn't care for it in high school, but now they look back on it and they're like, it was really cool to memorize it. I still remember it, and they'll present it 20, 30 years later after they memorized it. That's cool.
We've had young families, like homeschool families, or that will be doing Shakespeare as part of their curriculum, and they'll come to a Shakespeareoke rehearsed, they'll have things prepared to perform. We've seen the witches scene done by 3 9-year-olds. But yeah, I think as you were saying that, for me it was the movie. Gosh, people may not even know this movie. The movie Renaissance Man. And the speech from Henry V, the St. Christmas Day speech. That was the one that I saw that movie, and I went out to the bookstore and I bought that book, and I didn't read anything, but I just flipped through it until I found the speech. And then I spent all kinds of time in that speech, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, it is as you say, it's really a community gathering, and, and it is kind of a party, and then next thing you know, you're reconnecting with Shakespeare, or hearing something that you hadn't heard before, or see somebody from your community up there performing that you didn't ever think that you were going to see that. So it's very cool. Well, let's get into some of the specific productions that you've worked on this year, as well as a little bit more in depth on the approach. So we'll talk about Hamlet first, since we've already touched on Hamlet a little bit, and since it's fresh, you just performed it last night. Yeah, but also the approach in general that the company takes. Jason, you've talked a little bit about this, but what do you think audience members should expect when they come to see a Rustic Mechanicals show?
They should expect what we call a Shakespeareance, which is using Shakespeare's staging conditions from 400 and some years ago, riffing off of those in 2023, and most importantly, being in collaboration with the audience and letting their energy and their reactions and their interactions with us influence the energy of the show and us creating something unique and something special. We do it with the lights on because all of Shakespeare's shows were lit by sunlight, and so the audience and the actor were in the same light. So we do it with the lights on, and we know that, or we believe really strongly, we know that because Shakespeare knew that his audience was visible, he wrote them into the play. And all of those lines are direct. There's so many lines that are direct addressed to the audience. In Julius Caesar, friends, Romans, countrymen, that's the audience. You are the friends, you are the Romans, you are the countrymen. I am talking to you, and you become the crowd at that funeral. Like last night, the second scene of Hamlet's a political moment for the king, and the audience is the crowd. But then also in those private moments, Hamlet has 7 famous speeches. Yes, you do. And the audience becomes the confidant for Hamlet. They become that person that he's able to sort of unpack his heart with. And you take that, you take modern music, you take modern costumes, but the biggest thing is that shared light and that interaction with the audience, and the fact that we're all in community. Again, we're in community together, doing this thing. And I think that sometimes gets lost in a more modernly produced versions of Shakespeare, because it gets heavy into the tech and the scenic design and the lighting design, and we don't have any of that. We have costumes, props, music, and we're together. That's why we can do it anywhere.
Right.
We don't
that's
need
what I was
lights.
going to say. That lends itself to the touring that you do, and the fact that Sarah, what are some of the spaces that you've performed in just this year? I saw you last night in more of a conventional theater setting, but I know that you're in lots of other kinds of places.
We sectioned off a corner of a gymnasium last week. We built
We
some
did.
walls with our drapes that we use, and created a tiny little box there. Community spaces like the Monongalia Arts Center in Morgantown. It's an old post office, so we've gone in there. We've done, let's see, this year we've done outside fields with our outdoor one. We did the park here in Charleston next to the river, converted that. So
Under pavilions, that's
Under
that's a
pavilions.
big one. Honestly, the space we were in last night is not my personal favorite because
Yeah,
you're
it's
too
too
far
big.
away. Like I know where you sat, and you were so far away from me, and so we want to get you tight. Sometimes if we're in a huge theater space, we will bring the audience up on
put
the stage with
everyone
us,
on the
and we'll
stage,
all be
yeah.
together because we want to get you as close to us as possible.
yeah, we did that at Shepherd.
So that we can, we were at Shepherd earlier this month, and they've got they have a lot of cool spaces, but one of them is like a big concert hall. And we were doing a performance, and we knew how many college students were going to be there, and so we just put the chairs on the stage, and we were all together.
I'll confess, I arrived about a minute and a half late last night, but I caught the opening number. But I honestly, as I was coming in, I thought, are they seating everyone on stage? Because if so, I'm going to be in trouble. You know?
No, too many people for that last night.
Right,
but-
yeah, you wouldn't have had space for that. Well, that's very interesting, and from that, let's talk a little bit more about Hamlet, and particularly, Hamlet was directed by Jim Warren.
Jim Warren,
Is that right?
yep.
Can you describe a little bit about his influence and your relationship with between your company and Jim and the American Shakespeare Center?
So Jim is the co-founder and was the artistic director for 30 years for the American Shakespeare Center in Stanton, Virginia. He's the guy that invented the term Shakespeare staging conditions. And so we are kind of Jim Warren disciples, I guess, in this. He is now working on an incredible project in Stratford, Connecticut, where he is going to build the American Globe Center. They're going to build a replica of the 1614 Globe in
I don't remember
Connecticut.
which globe it was.
But he is the one that brought us Shakespeare staging conditions. We've been doing that for 5 of our 10 years. And he just transformed the way that we did Shakespeare. He transformed our audiences. The audiences started. I mean, we got more bookings, we got more bigger audiences. He just transformed us, and he helped us understand that less is more. When you really need to put we were already doing this, but really
Leaning toward it. We just
really
hadn't
putting the
jumped
text in the middle of the show, only doing as much tech as is absolutely necessary to tell the story, letting the text breathe, and letting the most important thing be speaking those words and connecting with the audience. And he taught us that, and now communities all over West Virginia are sort of reaping the benefit of that work.
Yeah.
He's a great director, an actor's director.
Good collaborator for you all too.
Yeah. He turns us loose, and we often say about Jim that you never really know what
he
Jim
wants.
wants, but you're certain what he doesn't want. It's if he doesn't like something, he'll say, "No, try something new." But you're never really sure, But
We'll
it's
get there
good.
eventually.
It's good. Yeah,
You get there
It's been great.
eventually. Yeah, exactly.
And we have other great. I mean, Jim has been the transformative, but we have a director of education, John Shirley, who helps us with all of our education work. He has been transformative to the troupe. Fight directors like Millie Ooms and Cliff Williams and intimacy directors like Jessica Morgan, Bridget, Esther Hughes, and Tommy Schaffler. We have all these people that are basically support staff for us that have all had a really transformative role in our 10-year evolution as a troupe.
And that's what you want. I mean, you've really put together a team over this time.
Get the most talented people you can together, and then let them influence the world. It's not healthy when you're always the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
I constantly want people that are smarter than me, more talented than me. Well, anytime I'm in a room with you, I feel like I'm not the smartest or the most talented, but you need that. You need that type of influence on you. Yeah.
Another audience member said to me after the show last night, what's going on in Clarksburg? Where are all these talented people coming from?
That's right.
So I think, isn't part of the answer to that that's been built over time?
Yeah, but yes, correct. It has
Yes.
been. And the other big important thing for us is we are strategically located in Clarksburg. So we got 79 and 50 right there at the crossroads. And we have WVU, Fairmont State, West Virginia Wesleyan, D&E, Glenville State, all in a big circle around us. And that just feeds the mechanicals, and it's a good place for us to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have just a few minutes left. Let's just touch briefly on some of the other shows that have happened this year. Sarah, Rebels and Revels, what was that?
So,
Or what is that?
yes, so for the history plays, we have tried to make them a little bit more exciting by giving them our own title versions.
Yeah.
So the Age of Rebels and Revels is actually Henry IV Part 1. With Prince Hal and the introduction of Falstaff, one of his most infamous clowns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're working our way through the Henry ad.
Yes, slowly
and,
but surely.
And audiences don't necessarily like to see the number plays.
Yes.
So
Right.
so we're
a number play. It was a
giving
name
giving
play.
them better names.
I
Like,
feel like
Yes.
like you have to, it's like the TV shows. Is this season 3 or season 4?
right.
What if I haven't seen?
It's like
season
Harry Potter
4?
and the Goblet of Fire. This is like Henry IV Part 1, the
The
Age of Rebels.
and Rebels.
Did you find someone to play Falstaff?
Yeah. And we
I mean, he's all right.
Just checking. And then Romeo and Juliet are also
Yes,
earlier this
we
year.
did that one in April. And we did Comedy of Errors in the summer.
Yeah, Comedy of Errors was our outdoor summer tour.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that I know you saw photos of, and you were like, "Whoa, this
what,
is."
what am I looking at?
And because we went big comedy, bright colors, foam hats, foam wigs, and
On Comedy of Errors.
on Comedy of Errors.
Yeah.
Romeo
And
and Juliet had more of like a West Side Story feel to it. Yeah.
And so Comedy of Errors was, you mentioned that was an outdoor summer tour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then,
And that's how it all started for us was
Outdoor
doing it
summer.
outdoor, and then we added the spring and the fall so we could get into schools.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a photo of Comedy of Errors. You
Comedy
can
of
see
Errors,
it.
yeah. No,
On a
definitely.
skateboard even.
Yeah, there
Right.
you
And
go.
it looks like that's maybe in a school or a
No,
multi-purpose.
that's our
actually our
rehearsal
rehearsal
space.
space.
Oh,
in
that's in
Clarksburg.
rehearsal.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but had lots of fun with costuming and props and everything on this one, right?
Yes.
Great show for that.
wild.
It's a light summertime fair.
It's wild.
And then let's finally just briefly talk about Othello, which is done in a very different style.
Yes, so we do this thing. I know we're running out of time. We do this thing called a play, a pie, and a pint, which is the synergy of the 3 greatest things in the world: pizza, beer, and Shakespeare. And it's a 2-week rehearsal, or like a month rehearsal process. We don't ask anybody to memorize. We carry our scripts, and we do it at bars and restaurants where we can get pizza and beer, and it's a dinner theater setting. And this gives us an opportunity to work with artists who maybe can't tour, don't have the time in their life to tour, but they can commit to something like this. And it gives us a chance to do sort of shows that we don't think. Othello is really popular, but we've done some like Cymbeline and Richard II
Cymbeline,
and Titus Andronicus. Those won't sell on tour, but we still want to do them, so we created this, a play, a pie, and a pint.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you all so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Great to
We
talk
need more
with you.
time.
Yeah, we do. Let's do it again. Best of luck finishing up the tour, and
Yeah.
we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much for joining us for this episode of ArtWorks. Please tune in next time to enjoy the vibrant art scene in West Virginia and to discover more about the artists living and working in your community. Until then, we encourage you to enjoy, support, and participate in the arts wherever you happen to be.